What's up, extraordinary people? I'm Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Barbie. Now, before I get into the review, I need to get something out of the way. Because of the SAG and WGA strikes, which I support, I want to make clear that this video is not a promotion of Barbie. It is simply a review and my honest opinion of the movie. Alright, now let's get into the review. Now, I don't need to explain to you who Barbara Millicent Roberts is, because you already know. Now, I swear, every man I've seen review this film has said some version of, "I'm not in the target audience for this," and almost every person I've seen review this film has said some version of, "This movie was not what I was expecting." Well, I'm not going to say either of those, because really, neither is true of me. This movie was exactly what I was expecting, at least conceptually, and I am in the target audience. And the reason for both of those is the same. It's the two people who directed this film. Greta Gerwig, the director and co-writer, and Noah Baumbach, the other co-writer. They're romantic partners in real life, and they are outstanding filmmakers. They've both written and directed some of the best films of recent years: Lady Bird, Marriage Story, Little Women. These are seriously talented people. So when I heard they were teaming up on a Barbie movie, I was incredibly intrigued to see what they would come up with. I knew it would be something very unique and very special. And ever since that first trailer dropped, and now that I've seen the movie, that was basically confirmed. This is a very unique and very special film. Now, when people, especially men, say they're not in the target audience for this, I do understand what they mean. This is a movie about Barbie dolls, a traditionally feminine girl's toy, something I never played with or knew much about as a kid, other than a general awareness of its existence. So why would I say I'm in the target audience for this? Well, first because I hate gender stereotypes, especially for myself. I think people should just like what they like, but mostly because as a lover of good movies, I'm in the target audience for good movies. And this is a good movie, for the most part, but we'll get to that. This is a stunningly original vision that's far more thoughtful and ambitious and just weird than you would expect, provided you don't know who wrote and directed it, that is. First, this movie's depiction of Barbie Land is amazing. I never played with Barbies as a kid, but I had a big smile across my face throughout every scene set in Barbie Land because it's just so clever, creative, and just fun. Barbie floats down from her house like if a kid were playing with her. Her feet are permanently on tiptoes. When she drinks, there's no liquid coming out. Everything looks like a giant plastic playset, and it's just awesome. Apparently, the movie caused a global shortage of a specific shade of pink paint because of the amount they used. The point here is, these filmmakers went to extreme lengths to portray Barbie Land exactly how they wanted to, and they created one of the most striking and visually interesting settings I've ever seen in a film. Margot Robbie, who is an icon at this point, is perfectly cast here. She was born to play this role. This and Harley Quinn will likely go down in history as her most iconic roles, and she brings her A-game both dramatically and comedically. Ryan Gosling, who is also a phenomenal actor both dramatically and comedically, also absolutely brings his A-game here as well. Now, I don't want to give away any of the plot here, and I won't, but this story is actually pretty complex and has some surprising depth to it. It's about feminism, surprise, surprise, and how Barbie as a girl's toy factors into that, and while the movie's messaging is not perfect, which I'll elaborate on in a moment, I mostly really liked what it had to say, and felt the movie said it powerfully. This is ultimately a movie about what it means to be human. This movie also critiques Barbie and Mattel so much that I was actually kind of shocked Mattel allowed it to get made. I really couldn't imagine any other company approving of a movie that makes fun of them in the way this movie makes fun of Mattel. Now, I do have some problems with this movie. It's not perfect. It's actually very messy. While I praised the movie a moment ago for being complex, that complexity is actually a double-edged sword. This movie tries to cram so many ideas, concepts, and story threads into less than 2 hours of runtime that it can't handle all of them, and this becomes especially glaring in the final act of the movie, which features many nonsensical elements. This movie also lacks a lot of subtlety that would have gone a long way. Characters often just say exactly what they're feeling in the most obvious, straightforward way possible, and that doesn't make for very engaging drama. You know, you're supposed to show, not tell. My next complaint about Barbie may be a little controversial, but hear me out. While I completely agree with what this movie is saying about patriarchy and toxic masculinity, the execution does sometimes come across a little too heavy-handedly. The biggest example of this is that pretty much every male character in the movie is either an idiot, a buffoon, or a cartoon character in ways that the female characters just simply aren't. Now, I understand this movie is a comedy, but the subject matter here is really serious, and I would have liked to see a little more serious handling of it in regards to the male characters, particularly Ryan Gosling's Ken, who's used to convey a really serious and important point about how men can get radicalized. My last complaint is with the ending, and I'm going to spoil it here, so if you haven't seen this movie and don't want it spoiled, skip to this timestamp. I'll give you a moment.
Huh?
Okay, so in order to explain my last complaint, let me provide some context. At the beginning of Barbie, Barbie Land is explicitly coded as a metaphor for the patriarchy, but with the gender roles reversed. So in this metaphor, Barbies represent men. They're an elite ruling class that hold all the power in society. And Kens represent women. They're a subjugated underclass who hold no power. And eventually, the Kens revolt, creating a society that favors them and subjugates the Barbies. So far, this is good. It's a great metaphor to put men in women's shoes and show them a little of what it's like to be a woman in a man-dominated society. But the only way this metaphor could truly work is if the movie ended with the creation of an equal society, where Barbies and Kens hold equal power. The problem is, the movie doesn't do that. It ends with the Barbies retaking and continuing to hold all the power, and Ken still existing as an underclass, but with the possibility of maybe one day having some power. The idea that any group should hold absolute power while subjugating an underclass is bad enough, but it's even worse than that because it undercuts the movie's message, not just about equality, but about feminism. Since Kens represent women in this metaphor, what is that saying about the real world? That women are better off as an underclass because meaningful systemic change is too hard to enact? That systems of power should stay in place because of tradition? Not great messages, and certainly not feminist ones. Now, I understand the filmmakers were not trying to send these messages. They were probably trying to make a satirical jab about how women are treated in the real world and how they've had to work for years to even get where they are. I get that's what they were probably trying to do, but the final act of this movie is so stuffed with confusing and unexplored ideas that it ends up inadvertently saying all kinds of things the filmmakers probably didn't intend, but that audiences will take away regardless. So while I did like this movie a lot, in my opinion, it's not the masterpiece many have claimed. It's messy, it's uneven, and it's even problematic at times. But I did like this movie overall, so I'm going to end this review on a positive note. Despite its flaws, Barbie is a bold, singularly creative vision with a lot on its mind, and I hope that encourages studios to take more creative risks and tell more original stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Barbie an 8. Alright guys, let me know what you thought about Barbie down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and remember that you're extraordinary. I love all of you so much. Bye.